Welcome back, friends, to the shop. So it's been a couple months since we tore into the worn winch that we were having problems with. Remember, it would spool out, but it wouldn't spool in. And when we did the video, we found out that it was these little solenoids deals. So I finally got around to getting the parts here. We're going to jump into this, get this thing going, fixed. We're going to put some new cable on it. That'll be exciting. I thought you might enjoy it, so let's get going. And briefly, as a quick reminder, what the problem is, of course, we've got the solenoid packages up here. 2 solenoid spool in, 2 solenoid spool out. Here's the control. I've got it hooked up temporarily to a battery with the battery charger. So we'll turn this guy on here, 40 amps. And as we see, we're going to try to spool out. Try to spool in. Nothing. So I thought we would just go ahead and replace all of them. Typically, when you need this, you need it. It's someone's in the ditch or there's some problem, you don't want to have problems with it. So rather than just replace the 2 bad ones, I ordered the replacements from Warren here, and we'll just replace all of them. This is a simple, easy thing to do. If you're finding this happening with your winch, this is typically going to be the problem, or a bad battery connection. So we've got everything laid out. We should have all the tools we need. When I'm working on stuff that I'm not very familiar with, I'm very careful as to place things. That way I don't accidentally put the wrong bolt in, I don't forget something. It just takes a minute. It makes the job nicer. It just gives you a little confidence sometimes. Also, there's a lot of wires on here, and one of these things mixed up, and of course it's not going to work. And so I'll take the time to label everything. I mark 4, 1, 2, because some of them are the same color. Over here the same way. I've got these marked 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll take a photo of it with my phone. So I'll just go ahead and mark these things with a Sharpie. Focus, please. And I'll take very detailed photos, just as a reminder. That way you don't get into trouble, because once you lose it, once you unhook all these things, it gets kind of confusing. There's quite a bit of stuff we're going to need to do to get to these solenoids, unfortunately. I don't know the best way. I think we'll start with this end. We'll pull off the motor, the electric motor, and then see if we can slide those out. Man, there was a ton of interest in the comments yesterday about these extensions right here. As I've said, one of my top 5 favorite tools I've ever bought. I've got this. What it is it's a socket extension with a snap-on handle on it. Now, I had a couple guys in the comments say Snap-on no longer makes those. I don't know if that's true. People say things without really doing the research. If you're a Snap-on guy, let us know in the comments, because I'd like to, I'd like to put the number up there so guys can order them. In the meantime, I have put up, and I will on this video as well, I found another one on Amazon from it's not Snap-on, of course, but it's essentially the same thing with a soft handle. If you want to order those, I'll make that, I'll put that up there for you too. I think if we take these guys out here, hopefully we can slide that motor. Of course, this is the motor part side of it. The other side is the planetary gears, which we saw from last video. Oh, how nice. We just stumbled upon one of the mysteries of the universe. So explain this to me here. All right, so we've got to take these little solenoid bolts off, right? I'm struggling with this for like 15 minutes with the camera running. All right, so we think, all right, it's going to be metric or standard, right? So first we try the 5/16. No, not 5/16. What's after 5/16? Of course, 3/8, right? Is it 3/8? No, 3/8 is way too big. Okay, well, it must be metric then, right? So we'll start with the 9mm. Is it the 9mm? No, 9mm is too small. Well, it's got to be the 10mm, right? Put the 10mm on there. Nope, the 10mm is too big. Explain that to me. All right, guys, no need to worry. We figured out what size it is. It's the Knipex size. Yep, the Germans saved the day again. Thank you, Germany. Good grief. What sense does that make? How can that be? I mean, there is some strange thread that I ran across years ago working on a British motorcycle, I think it was. It was a, what did they call that? Of course, leave it up to the British. If you want to figure out the most complicated and convoluted way to manufacture something or put something together, just look to the British. They're masters at that. I remember one of my first experiences. Of course, my sister had a penchant for MGs, and so we had those miserable things for a few years, unfortunately. But I have a 68 BSA. That's a little bit. Even the Knipex is struggling with this. I have a 68 BSA 650 twin, and I remember when I was restoring it, trying to figure out a way, or how to put it back together. I took it down to the frame and had the frame powder coated and everything re-chromed and stuff. And I was trying to figure out how to put the rear tail light. I'm trying to keep this stuff together. There's a lot of wires here, and we can't mix up not one of them. So I don't want to take anything apart until I have the new wire or the new solenoid in there. We'll just kind of swap them one at a time and move the wires over. I have to do that because I am not super bright. Anyway, that BSA, the way that taillight was mounted on there, I mean, it just defied belief. It was almost like an insane person designed it to make everyone else as insane as them or as miserable as them. I mean, I don't remember the details, but it made an impression upon me where I just sat there and shook my head, and I finally gave it up and put it in a box where it sits today, all because of that taillight. So it's your fault, Britain, that my motorcycle is still in the crate. All right, I think we're ready here. I'm just gonna, I'll just start kind of moving these things over here. Hopefully I've got these oriented right. Okay, that goes on the left there. Don't let me forget that. So speaking of Britain, so you guys know, a few years back we went to London for the first time, and me being a huge history fan and a bit of an Anglophile myself, I was super excited to see London. I had read about it, my whole life, and Whitehall and all of the history and Buckingham Palace and of course all those things. And when I got there, and it's partially my fault, I probably had some unrealistic expectations. You should never meet your heroes, right? Isn't that what they say? When I got there, well, it was a bit of a disappointment. Primarily, my first experience with British fish and chips. Now, if you don't know this, the British, they love fish and chips. And I love fish and chips, too. It's one of my favorite things. So I thought, I remember one time the best fish and chips I ever had was we were up in Victoria in Canada. And there was I'm trying not to forget what I'm doing here. There was a chip shop there down by the water, and they had brought over these old coal-fired deep fryers. The British, they used to, wrap it in newspaper. That's why, you see that, even today, some restaurants have fake newspaper. That's what they do. You just get your fish and chips. And anyway, they'd had these coal-fired boilers, and the guy was unloading these halibut and cod, right off the boat. He was filleting them right there and throwing them into these deep fryers that they brought over from London that had been converted to gas, right? And it was, did I get all that right? It was the finest fish and chips I'd ever had. Let's put these little guys on there just so we don't forget. It was the finest fish and chips I ever had. It was so good we went back and I think we ate there like every day. So going to London, I'm like, oh man, we're going to go to the source. This is really going to be amazing, right? And so we were, of course, in London, and it was over towards Whitehall, and we went to see the Cabinet War Rooms, which is something that I wanted to see. It's so amazing. So the Cabinet War Rooms, if you don't know, when during the Blitz, Winston Churchill, and basically it was his command center where he was running the war under the streets of London. From all, protected from all the bombing. And the cool thing about that is that when the war was over, they sealed those rooms and they preserved them. So you can go down there and you can see all the maps, all the phones. You can see where Winston slept, and it's fascinating. It's really an incredible thing to see. But anyway, we were over in that area, and so I ordered my first fish and chips, and what they brought me was not what I was expecting. It was a big fish with the head and the eyeballs and everything that had been deep fried with the skin on it. That's revolting. That's not proper fish and chips. And I of course, I ate it, but that was the last time I ordered fish and chips in London. And I don't know if that's the norm or what, or it's probably just some nouveau posh nonsense trying to improve something that doesn't need any improving. And I happen to be foolish enough to stumble upon it. But my experience in London, as I've said, was not it was not great. I found the city to be rude. I found it to be shabby, dirty, ran down, And kind of sad, you know. I mean, you go to these places like, oh, this is the Queen's bookstore, you know, and this is the once famous department store, or Marks and Spencer's, or whatever the hell that was, and you're like, oh, this is going to be really nice. And indeed, they did have some nice things in there, but you know, it's shabby. You know, things run down and grubby carpets, and you know, it just kind of looks. It felt like, I'm sorry to say this, but it felt like a city in decline. And I thought that was kind of maybe even an allegory for, you know, how far. It's amazing how far London, the British Isles, have fallen, how quickly after World War. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself here. What was that? Was this one over here? Oh goodness, I got to talking, and now look what's going to happen. I don't even remember what was going on here. Was that like? Well, we'll find out here. We should probably not talk. Well, we need to talk about this another time and focus on our work here. However, in hindsight, you know, I'm probably being a little unfair. If, for example, I mean, let's point the finger at ourselves. If someone were to come from Britain or another country and want to see America, and they would wind up in some wrong part of town in Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia or San Francisco, well, what would their impression be? I've since heard from many of you, yeah, London's not all that. To really see Britain, you should have went out to the country, and I get that. Yeah, I completely get it. If I were to go again, I would avoid London. But however, I did enjoy Greenwich. You got to have a great museum over there, and I'm so fascinated by British naval history that it was pretty incredible experience to walk through Whitehall and all those things. That was. I saw Admiral Nelson's uniform still with the bloodstains and the bullet holes. You know, all that stuff that's pretty amazing for sure. And to see the Harris clock and chronometer, and we have a lot of cool stuff, no doubt. Amazing history. Now here's why you take a picture. I thought I had everything right. And nice thing, you know, our phone cameras, the resolution is so good you can zoom in. I had put this guy right here on this bus bar. Is it called a bus bar? And I see from my picture I had that wrong. It actually goes over here. That would have been, well, who knows what would have happened, right? I'll guarantee you, most likely it wouldn't have worked. But now I can check. I just go each one at a time. Okay, we got nothing there. Of course, we'll hook up our big leads. We've got that guy there. I can see it. We've got that with the shrink tape, the crimp, black with the green, black, and then there's a brown wire right there, and of course this one over here. So I guess the question is, would I ever go back? I think I would go back. I mean, it'd probably be better this time because I wouldn't have unrealistic expectations. I mean, it's, you know, coming from America and from a young country. You know, what's our history? You know, less than 300 years of history. It's an amazing experience to be in that sort of antiquity. You know, we were down by the river, down by the Thames, and to look at the theater where Shakespeare, you know, performed. It's unimaginable, right? We went to this one pub not too far down there. It was considered to be, well, that's what they told us anyway, one of the oldest. Where's number 2 go? Oh, I see. One of the oldest pubs in Britain, and low ceilings, and of course, all timber framed. And to be in there and sitting in that place and just standing there, and you know, I went up and we'd ordered some drinks and different things, and to touch those beams that had been there for, you know, 1,000 years or so. I mean, it was an incredible experience that I think Britain's kind of maybe, well, who knows what it seemed like maybe they take it for granted. I didn't when I was there because it was just so fascinating because we don't, where's 3? 3, 1, 2, 3. Because we don't, 2, okay, that goes over there. Well, there's cram a lot of stuff in here. No, 1, that's 2. 2, this is 1, okay. Anyway, it's fascinating. One thing that I really wanted to do, but we just didn't work out. It was such an interesting but strange thing. They have this thing they call, and you guys who live there are probably making fun of me. Like, oh, that's tourists go there and do that. But I don't think so. this thing called mudlarking. And so the Thames is, you know, somewhat tidal as the tides go in and out. You know, the river, the banks, the river goes up and down like that. This is something we should talk about. You know, just like how long it took to get all of the ordnance, the German bombs that fell in the river, that they're still constantly dredging those things out. I mean, it's pretty interesting. But this mudlarking thing, so when the tide goes out, of course, the river drops down, exposes the edges, and people go down there in their rain gear and start sifting through the mud and finding all sorts of things. They find gold coins, and they find cups, and you know, who knows? All, you know, another thing. Things have been thrown in the river for thousands of years. It's anyway, you can go down there and do that, and of course get a permit, because you can't do anything without a permit in London or England. But I wanted to do that, but it just didn't work out. Maybe next time. That's one thing that I wanted to go back and do, is to go mudlarking. I think we're looking pretty good. I double-checked everything with the photo, and I believe we got it right. We'll perform the smoke test here in just a minute. We will see. So some folks were asking if we had any big plans this summer, and we did. Unfortunately, it looks like they might be unraveling. So we were planning, well, if you don't know this, Mrs. W has a twin brother. And before you ask, no, they're not identical. Twin brother who lives with his family in Amsterdam. We've been over there several times. And we were going to, and he's married to a delightful young woman from Yugoslavia. And we were going to go over there this summer, and still might, we're still kind of on the fence with this, to Yugoslavia. Croatia, excuse me, Croatia. However, we are finding that the sweet loaf, who we've nicknamed the boss baby, is not a good traveler, to say the least. And it's actually quite terrible to travel. She doesn't like it. She's very, well, you don't get nicknamed the boss baby for nothing. She's very active and doesn't like to be in the car seat or restrained, and likes to be outside. That's all she wants, is to be outside. So traveling with her has been really rough. It got so bad at one point. I hate to admit this. There's nothing wrong with her. You know, she's fed and she's in a good car seat and all that, but she mules and she fusses, and I mean, it grates on you, right? Especially me. Mrs. W has far greater patience than I do. I think women are made different that way. I think that they just have just this infinite well of patience with children that men don't have. And I know, before you go on, no, there's no difference, and, you know, it's a construct, whatever. Men and women are different. Anyone who says otherwise is a liar. So I have really struggled with it. So I got to the point where we went to Costco, and I bought 2 pair of noise-canceling headphones. And I have to say that it definitely did help. You know, so she's in the back seat and she's mewling and carrying on, you know, hour 5, like we were going down to Thunder Ranch. And I popped them on with my good Master and Commander book, and that helped a great deal. Point being is that we don't know if we want to be on a flight for 8 or 10 hours with the boss baby. So we may just be sending Jack on ahead so he can hang out with his cousins for a week, and we might stay home. So I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. If any of you have any ideas on how to tame the boss baby without medication, let me emphasize that, I'd be all ears. So I keep an old battery in the shop. It's a handy thing to have just for this sort of thing, you know, for testing things. For some reason, in this winch, I can hook up the leads to the battery charger, and it won't engage the motor. It has to run through the battery. I don't know why, even when I put 200 amps on there, but no matter. Okay, wish me luck. In, out, in, out. We did it. That's probably about all the time that we have for today's video. So what did we learn? Not a big deal. So if you're running into this, whether you're you've got an 8274 or the 9000i like this, most of these are all of these are going to be activated by the solenoid that I know of. And if it's not doing one direction, then you know what to do. You can fix it. We also learned where I made a mistake is I forgot to go in there and identify which solenoids were bad. So I've got 4 solenoids here, 2 good and 2 bad. Who knows what? You know, because I keep spares like this around for that reason. So, you know, anyway, that would have been nice to have. So the Knipex pliers came through. I will be sharing, so I'm going to be sharing some of the videos. I'll be putting Amazon links to my favorite tools, as I've been saying. That helps support the channel. YouTube I believe that they are shadow banning the channel. I believe that not all of you are getting notifications that you have rung, if you've rung the bell to get notifications when I put new videos up. I hear every day from a lot of people, hey, we didn't even get a notification. I just happened to think about you in search. So I don't know what's going on. They've determined that we're not, they don't want us. They don't want us around, or we're not brand friendly. I don't know, don't care. But the good news is that we have, you guys are here, we have a big subscriber base, and you look forward to the videos. So I'll put these things up. Helps me, helps you guys out, but the little Knipex deals are handy. I carry these in my dirt bike pack, and I have, this is what I give away to friends for like Christmas gifts and things. You can get just these smooth ones, or you can get the ones that have more of the teeth on them. They're excellent, excellent tools, of course, made in Germany. And if you had to have one thing to, I mean, it is the modern day crescent wrench. If you have one thing to throw in your glove box or in a toolbox or a tackle box or just in your back pocket or in the tractor that can grab a hold of about any size and is really good, I really like these guys. So I'll put those up there as well. All right, next video, if you're interested, let me know in the comments. We can do the cable on. I can show you the awesome Anderson connectors. These are, the first time I saw these were on forklifts. It's the way they connect the big battery packs. You can get them in all different sizes. I love these things. What it gives you is the connectors, the Andersons are same both male and female, so you can plug electrical in. So if you, like the Winch, for example, I built a custom plate or I can put it in a front receiver on the truck or in a rear receiver, and I've got the heavy wires running with the Anderson connectors wired up underneath, and I take my winch, which just has the pigtail on it, right? This deal, you plug it in. Have the same thing on my trailer. I got a little receiver, I can take the winch, I can stick it in there, slide it into the receiver, plug it in, and pull vehicles and different things up on the flatbed. So they're really cool. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Thanks for watching. Keep us in your prayers. We'll see you guys on the next video. Are you taking a bath? What does the bear say? What does the T-Rex say? What does Papa say? He says, I love the baby.